Have you ever watched someone drift out of a life they once filled completely, so quietly that it left no clear moment to point to, only a hollow feeling where certainty used to live? One day the connection felt steady, familiar, safe. The next, something invisible shifted. Conversations felt thinner. Silence lasted longer. No matter how tightly the heart tried to hold on, the bond kept loosening. It did not feel random. It felt deliberate. What looked like rejection was something else entirely. It was intervention. What was ending was not taken away to hurt, but to protect. And long before the mind could understand it, something higher had already decided that the cost of continuing would be too great. He had believed this relationship was part of the plan for his life. He had prayed over it in quiet moments, replayed shared laughter in his memory, and imagined a future where effort and patience would eventually smooth every rough edge. He gave time, attention, and emotional energy freely, trusting that love, when offered sincerely, always finds its way back. For a long while, it seemed to, but slowly, without drama or explanation, doors began to close. Messages grew shorter. Plans were postponed, then forgotten. Warmth faded into politeness, and politeness into distance. He searched himself for mistakes, wondering what he had failed to say or do. Yet deep down, there was a sense that this unraveling was not caused by a single misstep. It felt guided. The pain that followed was not ordinary heartbreak. It was heavier, quieter, more confusing. It lingered at night, replaying conversations and searching for meaning between the lines. He questioned his faith, his discernment, even his worth. He had loved sincerely. He had shown up consistently. He had believed deeply. And still, the connection was slipping through his fingers. What hurt most was not just losing the person, but losing the future he had imagined alongside them. The dream felt sacred, and watching it dissolve felt like watching a promise break. Yet the truth was more complex than failure or abandonment. He was not blind to the flaws. There had been moments of unease, subtle comments that unsettled him, patterns that drained his peace after certain interactions. His spirit noticed them, even when his heart tried to explain them away. Love has a way of convincing people they can heal what they did not break, fix what they did not damage, and rescue what does not want to be saved. He believed time would soften what felt rigid, that faith would transform what resisted growth, that consistency would inspire change. That belief came from a good place, but goodness alone does not guarantee safety. This is where many misunderstand what was happening. It would have been easier to believe the ending came because he lacked effort, faith, or endurance. Easier to think he did not pray enough or love well enough. But the truth pointed in the opposite direction. The separation happened because he loved too deeply, trusted too fully, and gave too much to someone who could not honor what he offered. What looked like loss was actually restraint. What felt like silence was guidance. The very purity of his intentions made intervention necessary. From a broader perspective, the patterns were clear. Where he saw potential, something higher saw repetition. Where he saw promise, something higher saw problems that would grow heavier with time. Where he saw someone worth fighting for, something higher saw a future filled with quiet erosion of peace, joy, and purpose. The ending did not arrive with dramatic signs or clear explanations. It came through missed connections, growing distance, and conversations that no longer reached the heart. What appeared to be coincidence was providence, working gently, persistently, and without apology. The reason it hurt so much was because his loyalty was strong. He would have stayed longer than he should have. His hope would have convinced him to endure treatment that slowly diminished him. His love would have accepted less than what was meant for his life. So what he could not release on his own was lifted away. The distance was not rejection of his heart. It was protection of his future. What was removed was not a gift, but a weight. The weight of trying to make something work that was never meant to last. The exhaustion of carrying a connection that was quietly draining his spirit. It helped to think of it like this. When something harmful is removed from the body, the process is painful, even when it is necessary. The discomfort does not mean the decision was wrong. It means healing is beginning. Sometimes the heart undergoes the same kind of surgery. Attachments are removed not to punish, but to preserve what is still healthy. The ache that follows is real, but it is not permanent. It is part of restoration. The removal hurts, but the healing brings life back. He noticed that his peace had been fading long before the relationship ended. Anxiety crept in without clear cause. Restlessness followed moments that should have felt comforting. This was not weakness, it was awareness. His spirit was responding to misalignment long before his mind was ready to accept it. Anxiety was not insecurity, it was a signal. When something is truly aligned, peace grows stronger, not smaller. Presence brings clarity, not confusion. Influence draws a person closer to who they are meant to become, not further away. What was ending had begun to pull him away from himself. It clouded his sense of purpose and diluted his joy. Continuing down that path would have cost more than it gave. Intervention came before the damage became irreversible. Before he lost parts of himself that would have taken years to recover. This was not abandonment, it was faithfulness at work. The future was valued too highly to allow the present attachment to jeopardize it. Nothing that left was meant to stay. What moved out of his life was not his future, but what stood in its way. What ended was not a blessing, but the barrier to one. What he lost was not the answer he had been praying for, but what was preventing him from receiving it. The ending marked not the collapse of his ability to love, but the clearing of space for a love that would honor who he is and support who he is becoming. There was still a choice in front of him. He could resist what was unfolding, trying to revive what had already been released. Or he could trust the wisdom behind the silence and allow healing to reach the places still aching. One path led back into the same cycle of confusion. The other led forward into peace that did not require constant effort to maintain. The closed door was not the end of the story. It was the turning of the page. For a brief moment each day, he practiced letting go by sitting quietly, breathing slowly, and reminding himself that protection often feels like loss before it feels like love. He placed his hand over his heart and released the need to understand everything at once. In that stillness, the ache softened just enough to make room for calm. It was not forgetting, it was trusting. What was meant to remain will not require you to lose yourself. What was meant to remain will not require you to lose yourself. If this story resonated with you, consider like, share, and subscribe so more hearts can find this reminder.